For as long as most of us can remember, the story of tornadoes in America has been set in one place, the vast open plains of the Midwest. But what if I told you the very heart of that story, the infamous Tornado Alley, is on the move? Well, the data is showing a dramatic shift is happening right now, and it's heading toward a much more vulnerable part of the country.
Wow. Just listen to that. That's how a survivor, Adam Taylor, described the sound of a tornado getting closer. It's a chilling, gut punch of a reminder that behind all the maps and numbers we're about to get into, these are terrifying, real-world events that change people's lives in an instant.
So, let me ask you something. When I say the word tornado, what image pops into your head? For most of us, right, it's that classic shot. A massive funnel cloud spinning over flat, wide-open fields, probably somewhere in Kansas or Oklahoma. The traditional tornado alley. But what if that picture in our minds is becoming dangerously out of date? And that brings us to our first major point. The whole geography of tornado risk is changing. The story isn't just about Kansas anymore. Look, for generations, Tornado Alley was a household name for a reason. That big stretch of the central U.S., from Texas up to Nebraska, really was the hotspot. But scientists have been digging into over 70 years of data and, well, it's starting to tell a very, very different story. And this is the core of it, really. It's a great shift to the east. The data reveals this clear, startling migration of tornado activity. So let's follow the numbers and see where they lead. So here's how researchers figured this out, and it's pretty smart. They took 72 years of tornado records and just split them right down the middle. In that first chunk of time, up to 1986, the Great Plains was the undisputed champion. No contest. But in the second half, from 87 until now, activity there has actually gone down. And at the exact same time, the Southeast, a region people are now calling Dixie Alley, has seen a massive spike.
And when I say spike, I'm not talking about a little blip. We're talking about a nearly 25% jump in Dixie Alley. To put a real number on that, it's almost 3,000 more tornadoes in that region than there were in the previous period. That is a huge change in a relatively short amount of time.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, but the Great Plains is a huge piece of land, so of course it gets a lot of tornadoes. And you're right, but that's why this is so crucial. When you stop looking at raw numbers and instead look at the concentration, the number of tornadoes per square mile, a stunning fact emerges. Dixie Alley now has the highest concentration of tornadoes in the entire country. It's the new statistical bullseye.
But the story doesn't stop there, because it's not just where tornadoes are hitting. It's also about how they're hitting. The very nature of these events is changing.
Okay, to get this next part, we need two quick definitions. A tornado day is simple. It's any day with at least one significant tornado. Got it? But a tornado outbreak day is a whole different beast. That's a day with a huge cluster of storms. We're talking more than 30 tornadoes in a single day. And that distinction? It is everything. Here's the perfect way to think about it. Imagine you could have a week of light, steady drizzle. Or you could have 3 massive, violent cloudbursts in one afternoon. The total amount of rain might be the same, but the damage from those intense bursts is going to be so much worse. It's the exact same with tornadoes. One huge outbreak day is far more destructive because it just overwhelms emergency services and whole communities all at once.
And here is where the two regions tell totally different stories. In the southern Great Plains, things are quieting down. Fewer tornado days and fewer tornadoes overall. But in the southeast, we see this strange and dangerous pattern. They're also getting fewer days with tornadoes, but somehow getting more tornadoes. How? Because they're all being clustered together in these massive, destructive outbreaks.
So why does all this matter? Why should we care? Because this shift from the plains to the southeast isn't just an interesting weather fact. It has serious life-or-death consequences. This whole eastward shift is so dangerous because Dixie Alley is just uniquely vulnerable. First, you have way more people living closer together, over 7 million more than in Tornado Alley. You've also got more mobile homes, which just don't stand a chance. And on top of that, tornadoes there are more likely to strike at night, when people are asleep. And the final factor, all those trees and hills can hide a deadly tornado until it's way too late. And the human cost of this is it's stark. When you look at the states that have seen the most fatalities and injuries over the last 70+ years, you see the story play out. Yeah, Texas and Oklahoma are on the list, but it is dominated by southeastern states like Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee. This isn't a theoretical risk. It is a devastating reality.
So, is this all just a temporary trend, or is this the new normal? That's the million-dollar question that scientists are trying to answer right now.
And this pattern isn't just about the past. Climate projection models are looking ahead, and the forecast is pretty clear. The key ingredients needed to cook up a tornado are expected to stay centered over Dixie Alley through at least 2030. It really looks like this is a persistent long-term shift. All of this brings us to one final critical question. America's tornado bullseye has moved. The data is clear. The science suggests it's not moving back. So the question isn't really if the threat has shifted anymore. The real question is, are our communities, our warning systems, and our own understanding of the risk ready to shift with it?